Hewitt, thanks so much for listening this morning. Joined by Congressman Mike Gallagher, representing Wisconsin's 1st District. About the only people in the United States who are happy that the NFL is in precarious position are the Packers as they see the sun setting in Wisconsin. They know that perhaps it would be good to give a year to their youngster who's going to be replacing whoever it was who's been playing Packers quarterback. It's been that guy who's on and off all the time. Mike Gallagher, welcome back. How are you? We could play 31 teams and just have the Packers forfeit if the indignity of it is beyond you. And I also want you to know the Browns are signing Myles Garrett to a 5-year extension worth an additional $125 million today. Wanted to bring you up to speed.
Well, Hugh, I just want to draw attention. This hat says 1919 on it. That's how long the Packers have been playing, all right? So we take a long view of history. This is but a mild speed bump on a long road that leads towards multiple championships. And I wish that your pathetic excuse for a football team could claim the same legacy and history as the storied Green Bay Packers.
I will stick with the Browns, but I got to say, you're the first congressman who's ever shown up on Skype in a hoodie and an unreadable hat. I mean, you can't read that. You may not know this in Wisconsin, where everything's covered with snow, probably right now, but white on white isn't really a great look. I don't know if you know that.
Well, in my defense, I did not know we were doing Skype, and this is my new father look right now, my sleep-deprived, 3-week-old newborn daughter look. So
is she keeping you awake? Good. But you look the part. Hey, let's get serious. The Bonhomme Richard is a terrible blow to the Navy. You're a Marine. That's one of the Marines forward deploying big deck amphibs. It's as Admiral Stavridis said yesterday, it's like taking 1/20th of our big ships offline probably forever. What's your response to that? And should Phase 4 increase the Navy's budget significantly to cope with this crisis and expand the fleet?
Well, just looking at how the steel across the ship has become warped due to extreme heat, it's really hard to imagine the ship returning to deployment status. It could mark the single largest peacetime loss for the Navy, both in terms of gross tonnage and replacement costs. And it's certainly the worst since the USS Miami, a Los Angeles class attack sub, was decommissioned after arson in 2012. There's also a significant operational angle here as well, Hugh. This was one of only 4 big deck amphibs that have been upgraded to handle F-35s. And you can bet that the Chinese were more worried about it than our amphibs equipped for older, less stealthy aircraft. So for force planning, this is a huge blow. It makes a huge difference. And as Jerry Hendricks, our mutual friend, points out in his great National Review piece this morning, the replacement ship could cost $3.5 billion. And I'm not sure if he teased this out, but there's no excess capacity in the shipyards right now. So even if we in Congress were to say to the Navy, hey, here's $3.5 billion that we found, go build a replacement ship, I don't think they could do it. I mean, this tells you how brittle our shipbuilding industrial base is. And in wartime, you have to assume you're going to lose ships like this, and you have to be able to replace it rapidly. But because of our disinvestment in our industrial base, we're just not at a point where we can do this. So huge blow for the Navy, and a lot of unanswered questions for the Navy in terms of how the fire started, whether they were in a position to fight the fire rapidly, why there were some fixed firefighting systems that were disabled, or whether they were disabled. And so the Navy is going to have to answer a lot of hard questions and hold everybody accountable, particularly everybody up the chain, which it's often reluctant to do.
Now, Congressman, in the radio business, for where I've been for 30 years, there's an old saying: nothing starts until somebody buys something, meaning that advertising drives everything. Well, nothing happens in the Navy until the top line goes up, meaning the amount of money that Congress gives it. So you can give them that $3.5 billion. You can also order them to buy and renovate the Philadelphia shipyard, which, as I understand it, is inactive and could handle a big deck. You might be able to go get your new best friend, Fincantieri, which is running the new frigate out of Wisconsin, and get them to buy an existing design and build it. I mean, there are things you would do if we were urgently worried about the Chinese. And given what we said to the Chinese this week, that we are rejecting all of their South China Sea claims, don't we need to back that up?
100%. But I actually think it might even require a broader argument beyond just, hey, we need more money. It's what is the purpose of a Navy in role in deterrence in a way where the Navy might be entitled to a larger share of the budget right now, given that we primarily face a maritime threat in a region of the world where the terrain is primarily maritime, as opposed to a land based army or other services who play a very important role. But the fact is, if you look at the topography of Indo-PACOM, this quickly becomes an air-sea battle, to use a phrase that was once in vogue. And so I think the Secretary of Defense and possibly the President himself are going to have to resolve an argument between the services, which says, okay, for now, we have to prioritize growing the size of the fleet, growing the range of our Air Force simultaneously, and not investing in a larger land army, because we're not going to invade China and fight a war on land. To quote the Princess Bride, never get involved in a land war in Asia. So that's a very difficult argument, really, since Goldwater Nichols, the services don't want to have that strategic discussion. And we often sort of start with a budget and then graft strategy onto it, as opposed to having the strategic discussion and then allowing that to drive our budgetary priorities. But you're absolutely right to suggest the Navy is going to need some infusion of capital right now and more predictability over the long term, so we can make those investments in the shipyard. Because you're not just buying steel and bending that steel, you're training human beings. And that's an enormous investment of time and resources to develop that really skilled workforce you need to build complex ships like this.
Now, Congressman Gallagher, I'm not a navalist, and I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn, but you and O'Brien are National Security Advisor O'Brien. I hang around with you and Hendricks and a few other people. So, and I talked to the SecDef a couple of weeks ago, and I talked to other people in the Navy. Admiral Gilday really got dealt a bad deck. They deep selected the head of the Navy, the Chief of Naval Operations, for the Steelers fans that we can agree are a little bit slow. CNO means Chief of Naval Operations. He's had a bad first year because he got dealt all these bad cards. It would be great short term. I know what you just said is, hey, we're Athens, they're Sparta. Let's not go to Syracuse. Let's build our Navy and stay a naval power and confronting a land power, which is China, that wants to get a Navy. I know you just said that, but it would be good in the short term, as Admiral Stav said yesterday, big vote of confidence in the CNO to push a lot of chips his way in August.
100%. And, Gilday, I think, was really on the same page as the Commandant of the Marine Corps, at least when I saw them speak together at some recent forums. And I know they were working on an integrated naval force structure assessment. I've been frustrated because we have not yet seen that integrated naval force structure assessment. We keep doing these assessments and outside assessments, and then we reassess the outside assessments, and it just kind of creates chaos. We need the leadership in the Navy and the Marine Corps to come to us and say, okay, with a map, and say, this is what we need to do to deter the PLA Navy, but more generally the Chinese Communist Party, from taking Taiwan militarily or through economic coercion, from kicking us out of the first island chain, and potentially, if they're feeling generous, allowing us to have Hawaii at the end of the day. And these are the ships we need to do it. Really, that's an argument, though, that not only needs to come from the CNO, but from the Secretary of the Navy. We need an apostle.
And the Secretary of the Defense, right? And the Secretary of Defense.
Exactly. We sort of need that John Lehman moment, and my hope is that Secretary Braithwaite is up to the case. Someone who can, in very simple terms, make that case for enduring American sea power and naval integration in a way that resonates with the American people. And ultimately, that person, the SecNav and the SecDef, is going to have the backing of President Trump. We know that President Trump feels strongly about shipbuilding, particularly shipbuilding in the Midwest. The frigate decision was a huge step forward because it's that type of small ship that can allow us to get our numbers up and also increase our deterrent capacity over the next decade. But we have a long way to go. And what happened with the Bonhomme Richard is just the last thing the Navy needed at a time when it was already dealing with multiple leadership changes, ethical scandals, and the legacy of the Fat Leonard scandal.
Unless it opens the window for urgency. If that does serve as the headline that kicks everybody in the ass and says, we've got to go and get this done. Because what you just touched on is my greatest frustration. People who follow this have been saying, you got the president saying 355, you've got a Congress with Roger Wicker running appropriations for defense, You've got you and a bunch of your like-minded buddies, and the Democrats traditionally are more Navy-oriented than Army and Air Force. And you've got a great power competition that is back in the headline. Ask for it. Ask for the money. Make the case. Secretary Esper, Secretary of the Navy, CNO, make the case, make the demand, and then the president will probably say yes. And I can't imagine the Congress saying no.
And particularly if you sort of show Congress your homework, not just 355 as an arbitrary number, but here's the mix of ships. Here's that high-low mix that we need. And here's what that number.
We lost Mike there. Your signal, you're in Wisconsin, Mike, and your signal just dropped on us. It's because Wisconsin turned off the hamsters. Are you back with us yet? No, you're not. The show actually goes off the air. I allow for gaps of up to 7 seconds, but the show goes off the air if there's an 8-second gap. So Congressman Gallagher is gone because Wisconsin's gone dark again. Honest to goodness, ever since the Packers announced they really wouldn't be competitive in the draft, after they said, we're throwing the towel, Aaron, whatever his name is just too old, and we're going to take this kid from, where, Utah, I think, Utah. They gave up. And since they gave up, they've been turning out the lights. What is it in Wisconsin right now? Yeah, you're back. Okay, I was saying good things about the Packers while you were gone.
Oh, there I am.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah, I was.
Okay, well, Hugh,
Oh, gosh. It's unbelievable. You're not back. You're like the Packers. You're like the Packers in the first quarter. You come out, you run out of the tunnel, and you get up ahead of steam, and then you go away. Second, third, fourth quarter, and he's gone. All right, say goodbye to him. We don't have time to have. And we got to get him to a. I know he's a newborn dad. I mean, dad of a newborn, all that kind of stuff. But at Wisconsin, you had Scott Walker and you had energy and internet. Then you didn't return Walker to power. Maybe he'll come back around again. And this is what you get. You don't get anything. This is why you can't have nice things. If you put Democrats in charge, your internet goes away.